I called my mum in the UK because we were living in Australia at the time, and I said, and Mum was obviously so excited because she was expecting to hear about her granddaughter, and I just said, Mum, she doesn't have a heartbeat, they can't find it. I started realising there was something wrong on Wednesday the 4th of March, so just 2 days before she was due to be born by caesarean. I just hadn't felt her moving. So we went to the hospital and they were wonderful, and they had us go straight up, and they strapped me to a machine designed to hear fetal heartbeats, and a heartbeat came through. And I just thought, oh, thank God. And she said immediately, that's your heartbeat. And nobody ever said to us, we can't find a heartbeat. Nobody ever said to us, she's died. We just knew, and there's nothing that can prepare you for that realisation that the worst moment of your life has just arrived, and there is nothing you can do.
In the UK, there are about 3,250 stillbirths every year, which is quite a significant number of deaths. And if you combine that with the number of babies who die shortly after birth, around about 5,000 families a year go home from maternity service without their baby.
You feel this incredible sense of failure, you feel this incredible sense of loss.
Mums often feel guilt, they feel that their bodies let them down because this is something that they should be able to do, to look after their child.
So Shoshana's birth was a planned caesarean. She gave me the option to go to sleep, to put me under a general so that I didn't have to deal with any of it. But I didn't want to leave Simon. And the midwife was very encouraging of saying, see her be born, have that moment. You will always wonder otherwise if maybe she took a breath and you missed it. And even though she died, nothing prepares you for that amazing moment when your baby's pulled out and you feel all the things that you're supposed to feel. I'd always been worried that I wouldn't love my children enough, or I wouldn't feel those emotions, but actually she came out and I felt everything I was supposed to feel. But she was dead, and that was both one of the best and one of the worst moments of my life tied into one.
It was calm, it was peaceful, and yet there was internally this massive roar of emotion. And you see Shoshana for the first time, and you have that bond and connection, realising that almost immediately it's going to disappear.
When you say to parents, actually, 1 in 220 babies in the UK are stillborn, they're shocked. Thank goodness, I had no idea that happened. And parents, often the first time they've even considered it is if they lose their own child.
We spent time with her, we got to cuddle her, we got to do so many of the things that we thought we'd have a lifetime to do, but we actually only had for a few days. And that was very important because we have memories with her. There are the parts that you miss, like we don't know what she feels like when she's warm. We don't know what she sounds like when she cries, but we know how she feels to hold. We know what her skin feels like. And those 4 days were some of the most precious. If my memory was to be wiped, they're the 4 days I'd always want to hold.
There is still quite a taboo about talking to mums about stillbirth when they're pregnant, as if by somehow talking about it we're sort of opening the possibility that this might happen to them.
Some people were just wonderful. I mean, I cannot describe the care and consideration that these people gave to us. They stilled their own lives, stepped forwards, hunkered down, took unbelievable body blows of watching people in this much pain just so that we could crawl out alive. In other ways, some people find it very difficult. We've had people tell us that she probably wasn't perfect enough for this world and that's why she died, that we don't know what she might have saved us from.
The comments of, you don't know, she may have had something badly wrong with her, you may have only had a couple of years, it may actually have saved you. None of that helps, none of that is right. Any time and opportunity that you have with someone who you love that much and have a bond with is time to cherish.
Getting pregnant again was very, very difficult. The pregnancy was very, very hard. Every day you're convinced the same thing's going to happen. You're facing your worst fear. I would panic, I wouldn't feel him, and I would think he had died. And there were several mad rushes to hospital where I was convinced that he was dead, and of course he was absolutely fine, but I was stressed. And I think we weren't able to have the same amount of fun with him as we had with Shoshana.
And certainly, I think that's one of the hardest aspects for me, because the one thing that we know for sure is our whole approach with Shosha's pregnancy was one of light-hearted fun and enjoyment. And if nothing else, we know that for that period of time that she was with us, she would have felt nothing but warmth and joy and laughter, knowing that quite rightly we just weren't able to give it at that level, I think was really hard for both of us. How did we feel meeting Gabriel for the first time? Shock, relief, excitement, but also not complete joy, because you know that he should have an older sister, and you know that there's a part of his life that, however, and Shosh is very much part of our routine, but however much we have pictures, however much we talk about her, however much she's part of our environment, he's never going to experience that direct connection. He's never going to get a cuddle from his older sister.
I feel quite a strong sense of anger when I look at how little is done within stillbirth.
There are about 8,200 papers published about stillbirth. That compares to other pregnancy complications like preeclampsia, where there's 30,000 publications. Preterm birth, which was responsible for a lot of neonatal deaths, there's 25,000 publications. So stillbirth is behind the curve. There's been less research than there should be.
And I really struggled when we lost Shoshana with the view that she was somehow lesser, that I loved her so much, but she wasn't as good as other children. If 1 in 200 3-year-olds could expect to die between the age of 3 and 3 1/4, you could bet we'd be putting a lot of money into it. But because nobody else meets the child, nothing goes into it.
And I think the other misconception is that it's just one of those things and there isn't anything we can do about it. There clearly is something we can do about it. The Netherlands has reduced stillbirth there by 6.8% per year. In this country we were going down by 1.4% per year. There's clearly more that we can be doing about it. We're really thrilled to be working with the Metro Charitable Trust, and this is a project that we've wanted to do for quite some time. We've had a long-standing interest in what happens when babies aren't moving as much as they should be, and we know that's related to stillbirth. But through doing lots of those studies, we've also kept hearing this story about babies that went crazy, babies that moved far too much, and we haven't really been able to get to the bottom of that. And this study is going to enable us to do that.
We recognise that the research that we're supporting is high risk, but we know that every major breakthrough in research has happened because somebody took a chance on an idea that somebody had. Every single person that I spoke to about stillbirth mentioned Alex. He was everywhere.
I've been the director of the Tommy's Stillbirth Research Centre here at the University of Manchester since 2013. We have got 3 main focuses. The first is that we want to understand why babies die. We want to be able to use that to prevent babies dying, and we also want to improve care for parents whose babies have died. And we're one of the only dedicated stillbirth research centres in the world.
You believe and can see, and it is backed up by the evidence, that he has the ability to make a real difference.
The great thing about Manchester to do this sort of research is, firstly, we've got a really diverse population, and hopefully that means if we can make something work in Greater Manchester, that we can roll that out with confidence over the rest of the country. The collaboration of hospitals and research institutions around Manchester, one of their goals is to cut preventable stillbirths by 50%. And that's really important. You know, you need organisations and organisational support.
I would tell any donor who is vaguely considering supporting stillbirth to do it. It's a seriously underfunded area in which your money can make a very, very important difference.
The charity money is really critical, because to get big medical research funding, you need robust preliminary data. You need to be able to convince them that your project's going to succeed. And so actually donations and support from charity enables us to research things that otherwise we simply couldn't.
We've seen it with cot death. Lots of children used to die from it, and what they found is that if you lay children down on their backs, the children don't die from it. That's because people funded research. And without it, we're never going to change things with stillbirth. We would really like it if people funded it, if they helped us to achieve something for Shoshana, if they helped us to tell our daughter that she may have died, but her impact will change the lives for other families in the future.